Welcome back to my astrology channel. Today we're going to talk about Saturn in your third house in your horoscope. So let's get right into it. Saturn, what is Saturn? Saturn is delay, okay? Saturn is discipline. Saturn is hard work. Saturn can bring obstacles in your life. It can bring pain, physical pain in your life, emotional pain, of course. Saturn is also fairness, okay? It's a judge, it's an elderly judge. So it wants to bring fairness into your life in everything that you do, especially the house that it sits in. Saturn can cause obstructions. It can cause a person to do a lot of hard work. So Saturn is hard work. Saturn doesn't want you to take any shortcuts in life. And things are going to happen in your life where it's going to create those kind of shortcut type of things where you feel like you can take shortcuts, but Saturn's not going to want you to take shortcuts, okay? It's hard work, okay? Saturn is discipline, as I mentioned. Patience, it's going to teach you patience, like anything. Whatever house it sits in, it's going to teach you patience, especially in that house too. So Saturn in your body parts rules the knees and below knees up to the ankles, okay? So so let's talk about what is third house. Third house is your younger siblings, okay? It is also your network that is while you're growing up, so your childhood friends, okay? It's your playground, you know, the playground friends that you grew up with and things like that. The third house is also your short travels, so any travels that you do, short distance. It's hard work. Saturn, house 3 is also the house of hard work. House 3 is also your communication, your media, any IT related jobs are also seen from house number 3. And it is your actual communication too. So not just communication via social media, via media itself, but also your actual communication. How do you communicate? Okay. Now, let's talk about Saturn sitting in house 3. What does Saturn do when it sits in house 3? It will cause a bit of a delay, okay, when it sits in house 3. So perhaps your communication could be impacted by something that's caused by Saturn. So if you watch my video on house 2 with Saturn, you'll see that maybe you start speaking late, right, in house 2. But in house 3, something could happen maybe in the initial years that could make your communication get messed up. Maybe something happens with, maybe you fall down, or maybe something happens with that where you were speaking okay, but all of a sudden your communication gets impacted. Now, what do you have to do? What does Saturn wants you to do? Saturn doesn't want you to take shortcuts. Saturn wants you to keep working at it, you know, because that's what Saturn wants you to do. Discipline. It wants you to maintain discipline in that and continue working at it. That's one example. Maybe if you have younger siblings, you may not have younger siblings when Saturn sits there, but if you do have younger siblings, Saturn wants you to maintain that discipline with them and continue to develop that relationship. Maybe you don't have great relationships with your younger siblings, but Saturn wants you to maintain that and get to it. Remember, whenever Saturn sits somewhere, it's not a no, it's a delay. Saturn causes delay, but not a no. But it's going to require hard work, and Saturn will put obstructions in its path. So house 3 is also house of hard work and short travels. Maybe you don't like to do short travels, or maybe you don't find them quite enjoyable. But Saturn is going to create things and put things in your way where perhaps your spouse wants to do short travels and you're going to now want to do them. So those kind of things. And hard work. You may want a comfortable life. You may not want to work super hard. But Saturn is going to want to keep pushing you and nudging you where you're going to want to do it, where you're going to want to work hard. So that's where it sits. Now let's talk about its third aspect, which is going to be on your house number 5. What is house number 5? House number 5 is a house of your children. It's a house of your self-expression. How do you express yourself? It is the house of your knowledge, okay, your education. It is the house of your stomach area, so right above your belly button is that area. So your kidneys, lungs, things like that. House number 5 is also your past good deeds, past lives good deeds. It is the house of your status, your fame. Status is also seen from house 10, but that's a status based off of your work. On house 5, your status can be seen as in your lineage, where you're coming from and things like that, because it's the original house of the sun. So now when Saturn places an aspect here, what does Saturn want you to do? Saturn, the third aspect, I remember I told you, it's a courage aspect. If you watched other one of my videos, it's a courage aspect. So Saturn, even though your children may not be as good as you think they are, you still gotta say, oh my gosh, I have the best kids in the world. And you've gotta show that they're good. Maybe your self-expression, you think you're not able to express yourself as well, but Saturn wants you to say, no, you have good self-expression. Try to express yourself and trust me, it's gonna be good, right? You gotta continue working hard work with the third aspect on that house, because third house, as you know, is hard work. Fifth, the aspect on the fifth house is a third aspect. So if you connect the dots, that's gonna be a house of hard work for you, regardless of where it is. So you got to continue working hard and show courage in that house. Now let's talk about house number 9, which is going to be your 7th aspect. What is house number 9? House 9 is a house of your father, your higher studies, like PhD level studies, bachelor's, undergrad, master's, your spiritual learning, your dharma, your dharma, your religion, your long distance travels. It is also the house of your thighs. So those are the things that you will see from house number 9. Now, when Saturn places that 7th aspect on house number 9, what does it want you to do? As I mentioned in my other videos, it wants you to be fair to that house. Okay, it's a Shiv Shakti, give, get. So if you're not going to be fair to that house, if you don't apply discipline to that house, and you try to take shortcuts in that house, Saturn is not going to like that. And it's going to give you struggle. It's going to give you pain. Could be even physical pain that you may get. You know, Saturn would give you all of that. So if you're not being fair to your father, you know, because your father raised you, your father loves you, maybe now that they're older, they have eccentric views, or they have different types of views that don't resonate with you. You still got to be fair. You still got to treat them as if they would have treated you were you a child doing all of those kind of things. So be fair, be disciplined. And Saturn is also an elderly planet, so it wants you to respect the elders at a high level with a servient attitude, regardless. So if you're not giving that respect to your parents, especially your father, because house 9 is your father, or your gurus, house 9 is also gurus and teachers, and you are, in your mind, you have different thoughts about your gurus and teachers, maybe you're good to their face, Saturn knows, you know. So you got to give them that respect, the elderly respect that they deserve, regardless. That is where house number 9 is, the 7th aspect on the 9th houses. Now let's talk about the 12th house, because that is Saturn's 10th aspect. So Saturn's 3rd aspect is on the 12th house. As I mentioned to you guys, the 10th aspect is usually a very hard aspect. That's where you have to work hard your entire life, okay? So what is house number 12? House 12 is a house of isolation, detachment, meditation, house of hospitals, jail, house of expenditure. So when Saturn places its 10th aspect on the 12th house, you know, perhaps you could be working in a hospital. That could be totally fine. That fixes your house 12. Or you could be working in a jail as a jailer. But you could be spending a lot of money. Maybe that's your biggest struggle, is to go ahead and curb your spending. You know, maybe you don't know the correct spending habits, and that's what you need to work on in your life. Maybe you are isolated most of your life and you're trying to fight isolation. How can you not be isolated? You know, you're working on that. Perhaps one of your biggest struggle is, this is also a house of foreign settlement. So maybe one of your biggest struggle is you want to move away from home, away from it all. You just want to go away. And that's not happening because that's a delay. Saturn is not a no, but it's a delay. Perhaps you want to do meditation. You just can't quite get into it. Like, how do I do it? I've been trying so hard. I've been trying to get into my spirituality element and meditate, but you're not able to. Well, that's where that aspect is, because that's something you're struggling with throughout your life. Remember, Saturn is not a no, it is just a delay. So eventually, through your hard work, through your discipline, through your patience, perseverance, your karma, you will get there. You will get there. So it's something that shows up after the age 40 in your life usually. That's where you really start to pay more attention to that aspect of your life, that 10th aspect. But you do continue to work hard through that aspect your entire life. You just don't know exactly yet what it's going to be. But that's a house that's going to require the most hard work. And that's an aspect that could take you to heights, because that is the aspect, the 10th aspect gives you that fame from that. So if you have this aspect, definitely write down in the comments. I would love to hear it if this resonates with you. And we do offer horoscope consultations, so reach out to us if you're facing any issues in your life. Perhaps we can help you. And thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on any updates. Thank you so much for watching.